All right, so we're here to talk about leaky gut today. And we're going to talk about some causes of leaky. We're going to talk about what it is, some causes of leaky gut, and the causes are something that you may have never heard of. Okay, this is where functional medicine really excels. Functional medicine is about getting to the cause of the problem. Okay, so we can patch up leaky gut, but if we don't stop what actually is causing the leaky gut to start with, we have no chance of ever having any real success with this. So let me share my screen with you and we will get going. Okay, so good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are in the world and when you're watching this. We do upload every one of our webinars. If you sign up for the webinars, we do send you a replay link so you can watch this anytime or as many times as you want. We also upload them to our YouTube channel, and you can go on the YouTube channel and you can watch any of these as many times as you want. But if you've registered for this, you will get the PDF handouts and you will get the replay. So there we go. Okay, can you hear me? We already took care of that. So the PDF, if you register for the webinar, you'll receive an email link with the PDFs. We're actually going to give you, at the end of this, we're actually going to give you the actual protocol that we use in our clinic to heal the leaky gut. We'll have some links on the bottom of it so you can go and buy the products. It's the first part. We're going to show you a 20-minute movie here in a little bit about the actual program that we have created that is dealing specifically with healing up the gut, getting to the cause of what it is. So if you didn't register, there's my email address, drT@TucsonFunctionalMedicine.com. Send me an email and I will make sure that you get the PDFs. There's me, one of my dogs. So there's 6 out of 10 Americans have a chronic disease. 4 out of 10 Americans have 2 or more chronic diseases. And this was done a little while ago. This was done by the CDC. And they say that we're spending $3.3 trillion in annual healthcare costs. Well, that is currently $4.1 trillion. So we are actually spending over $4 trillion a year on healthcare in this country alone. So with 60% of Americans having a chronic disease, life expectancy is decreasing for the first time in decades. We provide individual, customized health plans that focus on the underlying cause of your health issue. We help you restore your quality of life and enjoy the life that you deserve. Hippocrates said it, all disease begins in the gut. And if you don't fix the gut, you cannot have health. You can't have real health. With all the recent discoveries about the connection with the gut and the brain and all this kind of stuff, this field is exploding in medicine. It is one of the fastest growing fields in medicine. And it is actually, we're fixing autoimmune problems now by getting at the gut. We're fixing dementia, Alzheimer's, autism, all these different kinds of things are now being drastically improved and changed by healing the gut. So we hear this all the time in our clinic. I went to my primary care doctor, they did a bunch of tests, and they told me everything was good. Why do I feel so crappy if everything is good? Our traditional medical model reacts to the symptoms of disease. They're not really focused that much on your quality of life. And this is really where functional medicine has kind of carved out a niche for itself. Functional medicine has become the quality of life doctors. Cleveland Clinic is offering functional medicine. Johns Hopkins is offering functional medicine. Harvard is going to put it in their medical school. So the coronavirus that I'm sure you're all aware of is where our medical profession excels enormously. This is what they are great at. They are great at finding the causes of infections and disease and stuff like this and killing it, right? That's what they're so good at. Chronic disease, not so much, but that's where functional medicine has come in. So our core values here in our clinic is with you, we co-create health. All chronic disease has a root cause. The average doctor visit is 7 to 12 minutes, and there is no way in 7 to 12 minutes that you're going to be able to get to the cause of any problem. The patient determines the outcome, not the clinician. No patient comes into my office and cares much about me. What they care about is the potential of the outcome. That's why a patient is in a doctor's office, for the outcome of feeling better, living a better life, living longer, getting diseases under control, things like that. It's not the clinician. Clinicians should have nothing to say about that. I'm a guide. I can help you, but you are the traveler. So I tell people I'm really, really good at throwing rocks in a creek, but you have to walk across the rocks. So who's this seminar for? It's someone who's looking for the root cause. I mean, we're going to talk about things, unless you are really into the functional medicine model, these are things that you have probably never heard of. Someone who deeply values their time, okay? Because it may take longer initially, sorry about that, it may take longer initially to get to the cause of the problem, but it will actually save you tons of time in the long run. Because if you get to the cause of the problem and you fix the cause of the problem, it doesn't keep coming back. And that's what we're really going to talk about with leaky gut today. So someone who's at the end of their rope, people are just frustrated. They're frustrated with waiting in waiting rooms. They're frustrated with waiting months to get an appointment with their doctor. And then the doctor pops in, spends, about 10 minutes with them, and then they're off. And all they get is a prescription for for another bottle of pills. And people don't mind taking pills temporarily. Someone who's witnessed the limitations of healthcare. There's things that our system does very, very well. There's things that they don't do so well. And we need a new model for the chronic disease, for the quality of life. Someone who is proactive with their health. Your health is determined about what the decisions that you make today. Okay, so what are we going to cover? Hippocrates was correct. All disease begins in the gut. You can never improve your quality of life if you do not heal the gut. You can patch things up, feel better for a while, but if you don't heal the gut and really get the gut doing well, you never really have a chance to be healthy. We can give you an opportunity to get your desired health. We will, later on, there's going to be a 20-minute movie about the program that we have actually created about gut health. It's such a huge problem in America and the world probably, but in America for sure. And we have created a program that's based on functional medicine principles that is very specific, deals just with the digestive tract. So before we're done, you're going to ask new questions. We're going to touch at things that probably most of you have never heard. And these will be questions that people are like, wow, I never thought that my leaky gut would be tied to this thing here. And that's what a functional medicine doctor does. They are the health detective. You will know the most common causes. We're going to deal with the two most common. There are lots of other ones too, but these are the two most common. So I call them the best hidden causes of leaky gut. You will understand why the current approach is failing and will fail millions of people. You can get online and you can get a program for leaky gut, and you can take a program and take some supplements and feel better. But if you stop taking the supplements, or sometimes even if you keep taking them, you can feel worse again, because everything comes back, because the underlying cause that is causing the leaky gut is still there. You will have taken action to spare yourself years of needless suffering. If you take us up on the offer to actually take a look at this, and even if you don't, like I say, we are going to send you the first part of the program, which is what we actually do to heal the leaky gut itself. Now, if you don't do the next two parts of the program, it probably will come back, but we are going to give you that first part of it and tell you how to do that. I'm going to give you 33% of the program that we have already created. We spent years creating this program, and we're going to give you a third of it today. This is Dr. Alessio Fasano. In the year 2000, he discovered zonulin. It's a metabolic marker for leaky gut. So before the year 2000, naturopaths and natural doctors have been talking about leaky gut for probably 100 years, but we didn't have any science to prove it. And so the traditional medical model just kind of dismissed it. It wasn't real. It was just something that was made up in the natural doctors' minds. Well, in the year 2000, Dr. Alessio, he discovered zonulin, and it actually is the proof that leaky gut exists. But the traditional medical model will call it intestinal hyperpermeability or hyperpermeable intestinal syndrome. Bigger words to say leaky gut. So by most reliable sources, 80 to 90% of Americans have leaky gut. but we really don't know why, because there is a test for leaky gut, that zonulin test, but it is astronomically expensive currently. As it goes on, as we get farther and farther away from the discovery of it, the test will probably get cheaper and cheaper. But currently, if 80 to 90% of people have it, we treat it. And according to the AMA, 50% of the people that have digestive overgrowth, bacterial infections, leaky gut, stuff like this, 50% have no digestive symptoms at all. They don't have gas, they don't have bloating, diarrhea, constipation. They don't have any of that stuff. And our system would never do a test if you don't have the symptom of it, because our entire basis of our healthcare system is based upon having symptoms. And 50%, according to the AMA and the FDA, they don't have any symptoms at all. So what is leaky gut? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about leaky gut. So this over here, let me change the color. It's not a very good color. Red. I'm a red guy. So this is a normal tight junction. Okay, and this is the inside of the digestive tract, and this is inside the body, in the bloodstream, where everything is taken to everything. So what the purpose of the digestive tract is for is to hold food out here in the digestive system until it breaks down small enough that it can pass through these tight junctions. And what leaky gut actually does is these tight junctions start getting bigger. Right? So here would be the beginning of leaky gut. This would be a bad leaky gut, right? So how I always describe leaky gut is it is like a garden hose where somebody takes an ice pick and just starts picking holes in it. And so we have a lot of leaking of the water before it gets to the end of the hose. So what does that mean? Well, particles of food, so maybe this is a particle of a food, is too large. Once it gets in the bloodstream, it is too large to be used by the body. And what do we use food for? We use food to put it inside the mitochondria, the little energy plant of the cells. So in Tucson here, we have TEP, Tucson Electric and Power. That is the name of the power company. Well, in your cells, and you got trillions of these things, every cell has a power company, and that company is called the mitochondria. And what the mitochondria does is it uses fat, sugars, and proteins to make energy. But if we have this huge particle of food escape through, so let's talk about sizes. According to the research, the tight junctions are 1 to 3 microns. A red blood cell is 7 to 9 microns. And we can't even see the red blood cell with the naked eye. But when we get leaky gut, we get something like this. What we actually have is those microns are getting, or the spaces, I'm sorry, is getting up to be 200 to 300 microns. All right, so we go from 1 to 3 to 200 to 300 microns. So what we actually have now is we have particles that are way large that can now pass through these junctions. The other thing that can pass through is toxins. That's the other purpose of inside the digestive system, is to hold toxins in there so they don't pass into the bloodstream and get swept around the body and be able to cause inflammation all over your body. So according to most experts now, this right here is what's causing most of our food allergies. Because it's huge. Let's just take, it's a peanut. So let's take, it's a piece of peanut, and it's supposed to break down and be small enough that it can transfer between that tight junction over here, but we got this big hole. And so now we get this much larger peanut piece that transfers into the bloodstream, and it gets taken around. Now what's supposed to happen with the food that we eat is it's supposed to get put into the mitochondria and turned into energy. But this piece of peanut is way too big. So it just floats around in the blood. Can't be used because it's too big. And so then what happens is the body, since it's not being used, the body, it starts creating inflammation in the body, and the body attacks it. And so what the body does is build an antibody to go out and take that peanut and get rid of it because it's not being used by the body. Now, you could actually have an allergy to peanuts, but so many people, what we're thinking now is the modern view of this is maybe the allergy is not to the peanut, it's to the size of the peanut because it was too large. It was too large to be used in the mitochondria to make energy. The other thing that can pass through here is toxins. Okay, so what are we basically talking about? We're talking about inflammation, right? That is what we are talking about. We're talking about a lot of inflammation. We're talking about raising the inflammation. And in the actual, it was the November issue of 2019, the November issue of the ARP bulletin, and they actually put in there that they're now find that the underlying cause of most chronic disease is inflammation. Well, if you have big holes in your intestinal tract, that can allow stuff through toxins and food particles that are too large, and that can create inflammation, which they're now saying is causing all chronic disease, the leading causes of death, to be accelerated and to cause death. And so what they're now saying is if we can reduce the inflammation, we can live better qualities of life and live longer. And this can be one of the reasons that we have it. So what are the common symptoms? There's a lot here, right? But you'll notice fibromyalgia, candida, right? Crohn's disease, diarrhea, inflammatory bowel disease, inflammation, right? Absorption issues. Here's all your brain stuff, right? Depression, bipolar, autism, lupus, all this kind of stuff. So we're now looking at the brain and looking at autoimmune diseases and allergies and stuff like this in a completely different new way now. So what are the root causes? Now, these are two. There are more, but these are two that most people have never, ever even heard of. So number one, stress. Stress is the #1 cause of leaky gut. We're actually going to show you why here in a minute. So when we think about, stress, we think about a saber-toothed tiger, right? There's a saber-toothed tiger in front of me. The caveman, has to react to the saber-toothed tiger. Well, in caveman times, this was a very short period of time, right? I either got away from the saber-toothed tiger or the saber-toothed tiger ate me, and it was over. But today, we've just repackaged our saber-toothed tiger. And now we call our saber-toothed tiger husbands and wives and kids and parents and harassment and stress and mortgages and deadlines and conflict and debt and bullying and anxiety and taxes and on and on and on. So most Americans are stressed from the time they wake up in the morning to the time they go to bed. Now the problem is we've been dealing with stress for such a long period of time that most people don't think they're stressed anymore because this has just become normal. So I was an air traffic controller for 10 years. And in 1980, Ronald Reagan fired me and 150,000 other air traffic controllers on the same day. We all got fired on the same day. And I was unemployed. And you would have thought that my blood pressure would have gone up. I don't have a job. Actually, my blood pressure went down. And it went down because that stress was off me. Now, I didn't think I was stressed at all, but I was. I was really, really stressed. So what we now have is a continuous saber-toothed tiger in front of us all day long. And so what that does is that puts us in what we call the sympathetic nervous system, right? This is the fight or flight. All right. And so what we should be is in the fight or flight for just a little bit of time. And then we should go back to the resting and digesting, which we call the parasympathetic response. And when we're in this fight or flight, all this pink stuff over here, when we're in the fight or flight, our body doesn't care about our brain chemicals. Our body doesn't care about our sex hormones. It doesn't care about our thyroid, our digestion, our immunity, our detoxification. Why? If I don't survive the saber-toothed tiger, none of that stuff matters. So the entire way our physiology works when we're in the fight or flight, which for most Americans is all the time, because we got a wife, we got a husband, we got kids, we got parents, we got bills, we got jobs, we got taxes, we got all that stuff. And so what we're doing is we're reacting from a fight or flight mechanism all the time, which then just kind of shunts the digestion. That's what we're here to talk about today. It doesn't focus on digestion because digestion does not matter if I don't survive. So there's 3 ways into stress. The first one is the emotional stress. Okay. Now, I don't know, when you look at this, do you see the vase or do you see the 2 faces? It depends on whether you focus on the white or the black. If you focus on the black, you see the vase. If you focus on the white, you see the two faces over here. If you focus on the black, you see a guy playing a saxophone. If you focus on the white, you see a woman's face. So everything is perception. And this is what happens when we're stressed. When we're stressed, the body releases cortisol from the adrenal glands. And the cortisol, because we got a saber-tooth tiger in front of us, so the cortisol goes to your muscles, and muscles are just made out of protein, and protein is just made out of amino acids. So what it actually does is it breaks down the muscles to get the amino acids to take them to the liver. Here's what comes while we're here. Stress also causes cortisol to go to the gut. And it takes the amino acids out of the gut to take them to the liver. And the gut lining is made of amino acids. So if it takes enough amino acids out of the gut lining, you're going to have holes. And the reason it takes it to the liver, these amino acids, is because in the liver, we take amino acids and we can make it into sugar. And why would we do that? Because my muscles use sugar, my brain uses sugar, and I got a saber-tooth tiger in front of me. I need to run away fast. And so we need more sugar for this emergency. And when we're stressed, one of the things cortisol does is it pulls amino acids out of the gut lining, therefore causing leaky gut. A second way into stress is diet. Right? So if we look at diet, this is exactly, or this is, I mean, there's many ways we can do it, but this is looking at sugar. So let's say we eat a lot of sugar, right? We eat donuts and candy and fruit and all the things that are simple sugars. So if we eat a lot of sugar, the pancreas does what? It kicks out insulin, which takes the sugar from the blood and puts it into the cells. So it creates hypoglycemia, and hypo means not enough sugar. So this is where people really get confused. You go to the doctor and the doctor says, you're one step away from diabetes. You have hypoglycemia. And the guy says, or the patient says, hypo, doesn't that mean not enough? I thought diabetes is too much blood sugar. They think that doctor's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't have enough blood sugar and he's telling me I'm going to be diabetic. Well, the reason that you don't have enough blood sugar is because you ate way too much sugar here, which caused the insulin to put it in the cells. So in the blood, there's no sugar. Now your brain is constantly monitoring the blood for sugar, because guess what the brain uses for fuel? And when the brain sees that there's no food for the brain, what does it do? It releases cortisol from those adrenals. It goes to the muscles, breaks the muscles down protein, breaks the amino acids, takes them to the liver. Same thing that we saw with just regular stress. This is dietary. And then the cortisol goes to the gut lining, thus resulting in leaky gut. We take the amino acids to the liver, make sugar, and this is called gluconeogenesis. Genesis means the creation of, neo means new, glucose means sugar. So when we do this, we're creating new sugar. And why is the brain doing that? Because it wants sugar in the blood so it can eat. Another way that we can create hypoglycemia is because we don't eat often enough. You should be eating about every 3 hours, and you should be eating about an hour before or hour after you get up. Doesn't have to be a meal, but you need to put something in your stomach. There's a reason we call it break fast, because we're breaking a fast. So all the rage right now is intermittent fasting. And I'm not against fasting at all, but you've already been fasting for, if you sleep for 8 hours, you've been fasting for 8 hours. And so the reason that we want to eat it is so we don't have that bottoming out of sugar. And if we have that bottoming out of sugar, then the brain freaks out because there's no food. That's stress to the brain, so the brain releases cortisol to go. So we take those amino acids to the liver to create new sugar so the brain's happy. So stress is a huge cause of leaky gut. Now, if you take a bunch of supplements and you take enzymes and rebuild this and rebuild that and you feel better, but you're still stressed out all the time, this thing that is chipping away at your gut lining all the time is going to keep chipping away at the gut lining all the time. That's why trying to solve this on a program on the internet or something like this is really difficult, because what has to be discovered is what's your stress level. There's an actual test that we can run for this, and it's called the adrenal cortical stress test. And we see where your levels of cortisol and DHEA are, and that tells us what kind of stress you're under. And if you don't work on that, if that's a problem, not everybody has a problem, but if that's a problem and you don't work on that, we're going to constantly be using cortisol to break the gut lining down to get those amino acids to take them to the liver. And we're always going to go back to leaky gut because we never fixed the problem. So this is a huge problem. Almost every American is stressed out. They say they're not, but they are. And the body doesn't lie. So I have people tell me, oh, I'm not stressed. We do the test. Their stress is out of control. And we just run the test and the body tells us what it tells us. And then we treat what it says. We don't treat symptoms. We ask the body what's going on by doing very specific tests. The body tells us what's going on, and then we treat what the body tells us. So that's probably the #1 cause of leaky gut is stress. And stress is causing that gut lining to be destroyed by cortisol to take those amino acids to the liver to make sugar. #2, the second most common cause of leaky gut is gluten. Gluten is like a jackhammer on those tight junctions. Gluten is in everything. I mean, it is in everything. And we actually are going to, one of the things that we're going to put in your PDF is an actual list of things that have gluten in it. According to the government, there's only 13 grains that have gluten in it. Okay, that's what the government says. There's actually a lot of grain, a lot of things that we consider healthy have gluten in it. There's a lot of non-foods that have gluten in it. Almost all alcohol has gluten in it. Shampoo, a lot of supplements, a lot of pharmacology, prescriptions have gluten in it. Most toothpaste has gluten. All makeup has gluten. So what we're going to do is one of the things that we're going to put into your into the PDF handouts is a list of all the foods that have grains. So you can look at a food product and it can say that there's no gluten in it, but all they have to do to say that is not have one of the 13 grains that's what the government says has gluten in it. So there could be gluten in it. So if you go by the FDA's list of what has gluten, you're going to be consuming a lot of gluten, okay? And like I say, we'll put that in. So what we're going to introduce you to, and there's a 20-minute video, and what we're going to do is introduce you to our 3-step process that we have created that is digestive specific. It just is focused on the digestive symptom or the digestive system. Lots and lots of Americans have horrible digestive problems, okay? People's entire lives can be governed by their digestive symptoms. Diarrhea, I mean, good grief, I can't leave the house if I have diarrhea. So what we put together, it's a program that we call Trust Your Gut, and it's a program to get to the root cause of leaky gut and the digestive issues. If you don't heal the gut first, rebuilding the microbiome and getting rid of the bacteria and all that kind of stuff, it's a waste of time. The first thing you have to do is heal the leaky gut, then you have to kill off what's inside the gut once it's healed, and then you have to rebuild the microbiome. So we have a winning combination of a program that is built around you, because we do tests on you to find out what's your stress level. We do tests on you to find out what's going on inside your body so that we can deal with what your actual underlying cause is. There's many reasons. You could have a bacterial overgrowth in your digestive tract. You could have yeast overgrowth. Everybody's got yeast in their digestive tract, but it's the overgrowth. We find probably 50% of our patients have Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori, which is a huge bacteria that can cause ulcers. Not everybody gets an ulcer from it, but it's a huge problem, and we find it on at least 50% of our patients. But again, we wouldn't kill the H. pylori until we healed the leaky gut, because if we kill the H. pylori before, we're putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. It's simple, it's challenging, it's never easy to fix things. I always tell my patients, if being healthy was easy, everybody'd be healthy. I read an article that said, one of them said the 12th, one of them said the 17th, but by basically 2 weeks, 95% of New Year's resolutions have been abandoned. And the reason is we want instant results. I want it by this afternoon, tomorrow at the latest. I want it to be fun. I want it to be easy, and I want it to require no effort whatsoever. That's what we have in America, or that's what we want in America. And unfortunately, that's not what happens. The reason the healthy keep getting healthier and the sick keep getting sicker is because of the choices that we make day in and day out. So there's a 20-minute movie about how we deal with the program. So I'm going to unplug my mic here so you can hear it. And
welcome to our Trust Your Gut program, where you can reset your hormones, conquer the body's stress response, and enhance health performance through our lifestyle guidance system. At this point, you've hopefully made the decision that a different route needs to be taken to accomplish your ultimate health goals. You may be experiencing a variety of symptoms that you can just manage with prescription and over-the-counter medications. Maybe you're just looking to be more committed to healthy living and using this program to prevent these ailments from appearing in the first place. We want you to rest assured that once we start addressing the underlying cause, your body will know exactly what to do to correct itself. Before we get started, I want to take you through an exercise. We're going to bring up a number of symptoms and conditions, and I want you to keep track of how many symptoms you may be experiencing and the number of conditions. Let's begin. Are you having clinical symptoms like pain, headaches, migraines, maybe thyroid or hormonal imbalances? Do you ever experience gastrointestinal issues like abdominal bloating or cramps, irritable bowel, ulcerative colitis, or Crohn's disease? What about respiratory conditions such as chronic sinusitis, asthma, or allergies? Have you ever been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition such as rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, or lupus? What about developmental or mental health concerns such as ADD, ADHD, or anxiety? What about dreaded skin conditions such as eczema, rashes, and hives? Do you have a history of food allergies or sensitivities? A history of antibiotic use? Or just trouble losing weight? If you are experiencing 2 or more of these symptoms, or one of these conditions, chances are you have leaky gut or intestinal permeability. Before we get into the details, let's take a look at what we're up against if we want to create health.
The diabetes, the arthritis, the heart disease, the dementia, the obesity, the cancers are affecting about 70% of deaths. An epidemic cascade of debilitating disease that's overcoming the country. 18% of children are morbidly obese right now. We're on par to have 1 in 3 people be diabetic in the next 25 years. That's crazy statistics. Have this very dangerous situation. Large amounts of these substances have unquestionably been associated with clogged arteries, high blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune diseases. Absolutely, the science is solid. We're talking life and death.
Health organizations have become co-opted. They are taking money from the very industries who are causing the problems.
There's a very strong pharmaceutical industry and lobby that has a huge stake in preserving the status quo.
We've got a $35 billion stack drug industry. Do they ever want to see that go away?
The government's in bed with anyone that gives them the most money. These are government programs.
Consumers have no idea.
We consider it normal that a town the size of the town I grew up in gets wiped out every year. If that many people were being killed by some terrorist group in the United States every year, we would find them.
From a community standpoint, from all other aspects, we're in a state of emergency.
They'd care more about cooperation than these people. They spend at least $138 million lobbying Congress.
These companies really have a vested interest in making sure that the public doesn't have information about their effects.
Any little thing that comes up, and they beat it to death.
They're trying to silence people from not speaking out and not showing the truth.
If that's where you want to go with this, I'm sorry, I'm not the person that you should be talking to.
The European
Association
side.
So you may be asking, what is leaky gut or intestinal permeability? Well, the human digestive tract is where food is broken down and nutrients are absorbed. The digestive system also plays an important role in protecting your body from harmful substances. The walls of the intestines act as barriers, controlling what enters the bloodstream to be transported to your organs. Small gaps in the intestinal wall, called tight junctions, allow water and nutrients to pass through while blocking the passage of harmful substances. Intestinal permeability refers to how easily substances pass through the intestinal wall. When the tight junctions of intestinal walls become too loose, the gut becomes more permeable, which may allow bacteria and toxins to pass from the gut into the bloodstream. This phenomenon is commonly referred to as leaky gut. When the gut is leaky and bacteria and toxins can enter the bloodstream, it can cause widespread inflammation and possibly trigger a reaction from the immune system. So, what causes it? There are a number of causes for leaky gut. Let's go through them one by one. The first is excessive sugar intake. An unhealthy diet high in sugar, particularly fructose, harms the barrier function of the intestinal wall. Nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSAIDs. The long-term use of NSAIDs, like ibuprofen, can increase intestinal permeability and contribute to leaky gut. Excessive alcohol intake. Excessive alcohol intake may increase intestinal permeability. Nutrient deficiencies. Deficiencies in vitamin A, vitamin D, and zinc have each been implicated in increased intestinal permeability. Inflammation. Chronic inflammation throughout the body can contribute to leaky gut syndrome. Stress. Chronic stress is a contributing factor to multiple gastrointestinal disorders, including leaky gut. Poor gut health. There are millions of bacteria in the gut, some beneficial and some harmful. When the balance between the two is disrupted, it can affect the barrier function of the intestinal wall. Yeast overgrowth. Yeast is naturally present in the gut, but an overgrowth of yeast may contribute to leaky gut. Mainly, this is caused by too many rounds of antibiotics. If these causes are not corrected and left untreated, unfortunately, it can start to affect other organs and body systems. For example, for 90% of Americans experiencing hypothyroidism or low thyroid function, it is caused by Hashimoto's, an autoimmune thyroid disease. Since most of the immune system is still situated in the gastrointestinal or GI tract, poor gut health is a significant factor in triggering and exacerbating autoimmune diseases, such as Hashimoto's. An important step in taming Hashimoto's is to repair gut health. The gut, the brain, and our hormones are meant to be in communication. They support each other and work together to make our body run smoothly. In fact, our intestinal cells have special receptors for hormones that allow them to detect hormonal shifts. When the gut is leaky and bacteria and toxins enter the bloodstream, it can cause widespread inflammation and possibly trigger a reaction from the immune system. Gastro symptoms of leaky gut syndrome include bloating, food sensitivities, stomach cramping, and other digestive issues. Extreme tiredness can also be associated with leaky gut syndrome. Your immune system is chronically overactive, which starts to fatigue the body rapidly. Commonly, this is where people start to rely on multiple caffeine drinks to get through the day. Common respiratory conditions, such as allergies, sinusitis, and asthma, cause occasional breathing difficulties. Because of the overactive immune response from the gut leaking, the mucous membranes and the lining of the sinus cavity and lungs become inflamed, causing respiratory issues. Eczema, psoriasis, and scleroderma are all conditions causing irritation of the skin or thickened areas of skin, which could be linked to leaky gut syndrome. Undigested proteins and toxins should not be released out of the digestive tract. But if an individual has increased intestinal permeability, these substances can get into the bloodstream, and your body tries to get rid of the toxins through your skin, causing a skin reaction. Gut bacteria, especially in the small intestine, have been linked to a range of diseases, including autoimmune conditions characterized by an immune system attack on healthy tissue. To shed light on this, a Yale research team focused on a bacterium they discovered that was able to get outside of the gut lining to lymph nodes, the liver, and the spleen. Your immune system tries to counter this from happening, which causes a self-attack on your own body tissues. This is how autoimmunity begins. Unfortunately, there are several hundred autoimmune diseases today because of the lack of knowledge and solutions for the cause of the condition. New research shows it's from addressing the microbiome and gut health. Number 1, the microbiome to prevent, diagnose, and treat disease.
Our microbes have a mind of their own. They play a big role in health and disease. And the trillions of bacteria making up communities in our body are called the microbiome. Chemicals emitted interfere with the way food is digested, medicine is deployed, and how a disease, like heart disease, metabolic disorders, or even cancer, progresses. Discoveries are being made on potential of the microbiome to develop new diagnostics that can detect relevant microbe imbalances, that can create new therapies to correct imbalances, and can advance new probiotic products to prevent dangerous imbalances. A newly created National Microbiome Initiative will invest $121 million from federal agencies and another $400 million from outside sources to accelerate research and development and make the microbiome healthcare's most promising and lucrative frontier in 2017.
Well, today you've learned about the causes of leaky gut, what it is, and how it affects our organs and body systems. So it's time to resolve this. Let's get to the solution. As you can see, leaky gut shares many of its symptoms with other health conditions. This can make the condition difficult for doctors to identify. But you're in the right place because our office uses a doctor-supervised protocol not only to identify intestinal permeability, but also reduce and resolve the causes of it. We have a solution that's broken down into 3 simple phases. Phase 1 is our heal and seal phase. Phase 2 is detox and de-stress. Phase 3 is replenish and rebuild. Let's look at these 3 phases and their responsibilities. Phase 1, heal and seal. We must eliminate the things that are causing the issues in your gut, which are possible parasites, candida, and food sensitivities, which will give it a chance to heal. Then, we'll seal any gaps that may have developed in your gut lining, all while supporting your nutritional needs and removing the culprits that cause gut inflammation. We use our Blueprint Heal and Seal formulas, which serve as a fuel source and a precursor for the growth of rapidly dividing cells of the gastrointestinal mucosal lining. Phase 2, detox and de-stress. We understand that the gut lining has been damaged for quite some time. So now, since the gut is sealed, the digestive tract needs to be cleared, and the blood must be cleansed. In order to do that, we use our Blueprint detox and de-stress formulas to help support gastrointestinal function and balance detoxification by binding toxic metals and pulling them out of the body safely, while also killing underlying bacteria and viruses, which will help clear the body's debris from years of damage. The reason most people do not do well on detoxification programs is because their gut hasn't been sealed, and they do not have a good binding agent to pull the foreign invaders out of the body. They also usually do not have the support to reduce the amount of stress that is put on the body during this time. Phase 3 is rebuild and replenish. Now that we've gotten the parasites, candida, and food sensitivities at bay, while sealing the gut in our heal and seal phase, and removed bacterial, viral, and microbial pathogens, and bound toxins and heavy metals with our detox and de-stress phase, it's time to rebuild the microbiome. We call this Phase 3, rebuild and replenish. We first reintroduce the balance of a healthy digestive tract by addressing its acidifying factors, by providing a formula that balances hydrochloric acids and provides enzymes. Then we will reintroduce probiotic health, which are found in our Blueprint Biotic Pro. This provides beneficial bacteria, including the extensively studied HBN019 strand of Bifidobacterium lactis. Then we introduce specific colostrum to modulate a healthy immune response, which supports the thymus, which is known as the command center of the immune system. Now that you know that all these symptoms have one main cause and one main solution, let's look at what needs to be done to get you moving in the appropriate direction. First, we want to assure you that you will have all the tools you need. Our handbook and online resources walk you through in detail what you've learned today about leaky gut and how it relates to the conditions that you have been concerned with. But most importantly, we will guide you through the step-by-step process that gets you moving in the right direction. There are certain dietary and lifestyle changes that will help you improve your gut health that are shared with these resources. Dietary tips such as how to eat healthy on the program while dining out, eating to boost beneficial gut bacteria and reduce food sensitivities, eating foods rich in prebiotic fiber and what those foods are, reducing weight but eating more, how to avoid sugar and artificial sweeteners without getting cravings. The guide also covers lifestyle changes on how to improve your overall health, tips on exercising regularly, getting enough sleep every night, reducing stress, and avoiding unnecessary use of antibiotics, and a specific nutritional and supplemental protocol that only our doctors provide and have access to. Our protocol is doctor supervised. Therefore, you will not be able to find this protocol or nutritional supplements in stores or online. You will get 24/7 online communication and support from our staff and doctor. Daily motivational emails keep you on track. Daily recipes satisfy your taste buds. And we even have an app where you can do everything right from your smartphone. I know what you're thinking. I'll have access to support all the time? Absolutely. Let's review the phases of care that are going to guide you back toward health and healing. The supplemental resources to heal and seal your gut are the following: Blueprint Bone Broth, or Plant Pro NG if you're vegan. These powders are a no-grain, nutritional food source of protein. Blueprint Cleanse reduces the abundance of Candida overgrowth. Blueprint Remove is what helps with underlying parasitic infections and gently removes them. Blueprint Seal is the formula used for sealing the intestinal tract from leaking. You'll also receive a medical device that helps you detect your food sensitivities in real time. Synergistically, this all works together to repair the intestinal lining. The supplemental resources that are used in Phase 2, detox and de-stress, are the following: Blueprint GI Alive, which helps nourish and support specific structures in your GI tract. Blueprint EnviroPro helps safely remove insecticide, pesticide, and environmental toxins, such as heavy metals, from your cells. Blueprint Clear helps bind these toxins and remove them from the body. Blueprint Shield targets any underlying viruses, bacteria, or microbes that could be compromising your immune system. Blueprint Cortisol B helps neutralize the stress response in your body to support the detox process and reduce overall anxiety. Synergistically, these all work together to detox and de-stress the body. The supplemental resources that are used in Phase 3, Replenish and Rebuild, are the following: Blueprint Balance, which helps with our acidifying factors in the digestive system. We need this balance to digest food properly. Blueprint Immune contains naturally extracted colostrum from New Zealand to support your immunity, especially the thymus gland, which is the command center of the immune system. Blueprint Biotic Pro are clinically studied probiotics to help repopulate good bacteria in our intestinal tract. Blueprint Plant Pro is a revolutionary plant blend to provide a high amino acid profile in a plant-based protein to nourish your body during this rebuilding and replenishing phase. Synergistically, this all works together to replenish and rebuild the digestive system. Unfortunately, health is not a state we can stay in without effort. We feel it is important to continue with a full spectrum wellness approach to ensure lasting results. Most programs do not have a follow-up program to ensure your health and well-being long term. There have been decades upon decades of research and development about the health and wellness of individuals. We wanted to take a simple and fundamentally sound approach to decreasing inflammation, neutralizing stress, improving sleep, incorporating pain-free exercise, and simplifying a nutritional and supplemental lifestyle plan. Our Blueprint to Wellness program does this by introducing a 3-part supplement regimen supported by an anti-inflammatory eating plan. It is simple, effective, and a fun way to continue with your health journey after restoring your gut integrity. Well, we would like to say thank you for joining us today, and also that we're excited for you as you get ready to embark on your journey of recovery and a lifetime of wellness. We would love to further help you.
So, It's a 3-step program that has a follow-up, and that's what isn't ever happening when you get a leaky gut program online, or even a lot of doctors give you a leaky gut program, because they're not healing, sealing the gut. Then they got to get rid of all the stuff that's accumulated because the gut hasn't been sealed, and then they got to rebuild the microbiome. And now the reason is you take some pills off the internet or whatever, you feel better, but we still have the stress, we still have all these things that are going to come back and just push holes in the gut again, and we're just going to start the whole process over. So we dealt with what leaky gut is. It's those big spaces where stuff can get through and get into the bloodstream and raise inflammation. It's all about inflammation, right? The mechanisms of leaky gut and why it is so dangerous. Okay, the most common causes of leaky gut, we dealt with the top 2, the biggest ones that we find all the time. We have a program that gets to the root cause of the leaky gut and digestive issues once and for all. So in the PDF we'll be sending you, we will include the whole first third of the program, the actual healing of the leaky gut, the first part of the program. But understand, you can feel better, but if we don't do the next 2 parts, it's never going to stay that way. But we're going to give you that first part so that you can feel better. I mean, everything is about feeling better, right? And there's a link in the email where you'll be able to purchase the supplements that you'll need in the process of healing your leaky gut. If you're interested in the whole program, you can contact me. In the PDFs that we have, we'll have a way that you can contact me. But the whole program, we heal and seal. That's the part we're going to give you. We detox and de-stress. We rebuild and replenish, and then we have a follow-up program so that you can maintain this for the rest of your life. I mean, that's what this is all about. This isn't about just feeling good today. This is about feeling good tomorrow, the next day, for the rest of your life. This is really what this is about. So we have a few minutes, about 8 minutes left. If there are any questions, in the Q&A at the bottom, oh, we already got some, it looks like. Okay, you just told me yes. So if there's any questions about anything that we talked about, you can type them in there and I'll answer them before we go. Like I say, you will, if you registered for the email or the webinar, you will get a link that we'll send it out, a link that will have a link to take you to the replay of the what you just watched, the webinar, and then it will also be a link to get all the PDFs so that you can get this. We give you a lot of information in the PDFs, because if you choose to go this alone, we want you to improve your quality of life. If you want to fix it once and for all, give me a call. We have patients all over the world because we do exactly like what we're doing right now. We meet patients through Zoom, and I have patients in Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, and I have patients that live in Tucson here and don't come in. They don't want to come in, so what they do is we just get together on the internet. If you think about it, when you go to the doctor now, they hardly even look at you. They sit with their back to you, typing away on a keyboard, and every once in a while they look over their shoulder to see if you're still in the room, because the paperwork for being a doctor has exploded. And so doctors spend as much as 2/3 of their day now doing paperwork. And so what happens with this is the doctor's going to do the paperwork when you're sitting in a room. Doctor doesn't have the time. And if they wait until after the appointment, they're going to spend the next 4 or 5 hours doing paperwork. And so it no longer matters that much. I know lots of functional medicine doctors that don't even have offices anymore. They've completely eliminated offices and they just work on the internet. The internet has been just a boon for us to be able to treat patients. That's why we went to webinars this year. Is 2/3 of the people on my email list don't live in Tucson. We used to teach at the Natural Grocers here in Tucson, and we taught every weekend, and that was fine for the people who lived here in Tucson. But what about the 2/3 of the people on my email list that don't live in Tucson? They don't get any of this benefit. So this is why we've moved to this. This is only my second webinar ever. I got a lot to learn about it. I noticed the lighting on my face is horrible, and you get to see my books and all that kind of stuff. So we got to come up with a better system. But it's we're going to get this information out there. So 2 things: you will get a link that'll take you to a Dropbox file that will have the MP4 in there, which is what you just watched. We also will be uploading it on our YouTube channel. So our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and search for Tucson Functional Medicine, and we're going to start uploading every one of these. And also in the PDFs, will be a folder, or I mean a sheet about our next upcoming one. On the 19th, we'll be teaching about neuropathy. We'll be teaching about neuropathy. We've got this brand new program that we built with about neuropathy that we teamed up with a lot of the stuff that the Cancer Treatment Centers of America are doing, and we put together a program that is very holistic, that can really make amazing things for neuropathy. And then next month, we're actually going to be teaching on why everything you've been taught about cholesterol is wrong. Okay, that's probably one of the most misleading things, and they've been misleading Americans since the late 70s about this. And now almost everything that we learned about cholesterol has now been completely disproven. Okay, so that's the one in March. And like I say, you can go to my website, TucsonFunctionalMedicine.com, and I think it's under About Us. There's a section that's Dr. T's teaching schedule. And if you go in there, we have listed every one of our webinars for the rest of the year. If you're on my email list, which I assume most of you are since you're here, you will also get updates in the email list that will send you emails and stuff about the upcoming ones. But we only do that for about 2 weeks before the actual talk. If you go to the website, you can see the whole year. And underneath each one of the schedules, so like in October, I don't even know what we're teaching in October, but in October, and then right below the October one is a link that you can click that takes you to the registration page so you can register for the ones. I always tell people, even if you can't watch them, register. Because if you register, we'll send you the replay to the link to the replay, and we'll also send you all the PDFs so that you can get it. So I don't know about you, but I register for a lot of emails that I can't go to. And so, but I get the relink, or I get the link to the replay. Boy, I can't say that right, can I? And then I watch them when I get a chance to watch them. So any questions, like I say, Q&A, we got about 3 more minutes now, and give me any of the, any questions that you might have if you do, because if you don't, I'm the greatest teacher in the world and you have all the knowledge you need, and there it was so clear and understanding that there's absolutely no questions whatsoever. That can't be true, can it? Okay, so we will also put in the PDF, we will also put a flyer for the next one on the 19th, the neuropathy one. And then during the 19th one, we'll put a flyer in for the one in March that we'll do. And so I would register for all of these. Why did we pick Wednesday at noon our time? Because I did some research online, and that is the biggest time where people attend webinars, is Wednesday afternoon. I was surprised about that. I figured, people would be at work and stuff, but that was the best time. So we scheduled that so we could get a lot of people that were here. But like I say, I think 17 people or 18 people, something like that, actually registered for this one. And there's 5 of you here, 6 of us, I guess. And so lots of people register, but they're not actually able to make it. But that's okay. We'll send you the replay so you can watch it when you get an opportunity. So I hope you learned a lot. Nobody wrote any questions, so I do hope you learned a lot. What are the top 2 causes? Stress. Stress causes cortisol to take amino acids out of the gut, to take it to the liver to make sugar, and that's tearing pieces of your gut out because of stress. Huge, huge, huge problem. And if you don't have a system to deal with stress, it's always going to come back. Doesn't matter how much money you spend on treating the leaky gut if you don't deal with that part. The second thing is gluten. And if you've read The Plant Paradox, we actually talk in the program about lectins. Gluten is a lectin. And Dr. Gundry with The Plant Paradox, he talks about all these other lectins. Well, we figured a way out on how not to have to limit all that stuff from our food, but we still get the benefits of not having the lectins, because all lectins will attack the gut lining. Now, gluten is just in everything. I mean, it is completely in everything. So in those PDF handouts, we will give you the list of all the things. There's 5 pages of list of all the things that have gluten in it. So if there is no questions, and nobody has written any questions, so I appreciate you being here. I hope that you learned a lot. And even if you didn't want to ask something in here, you can always email me. My email address and everything will be in the handouts and everything like that. So I thank you for attending. I hope that you did learn something. Like I say, we've got to deal with it, heal the leaky gut. Then we have to kill all the stuff in there that shouldn't be in there. And then we have to rebuild the microbiome. If we don't rebuild it, it's all going to come back. If we don't deal with the underlying cause, the stress, stuff like that, it's all going to come back. So, well, thank you, G6. Thank you. Very informative. I appreciate that very much. So the hardest part for me about teaching these is I can't see anybody. And so I really never realized, I do a lot of teaching, but I never realized how much I depended on the people out there. And these are difficult because I'm just talking to a computer screen. But I do appreciate it. I hope you learned a lot. And like I say, you'll be getting these links either later on today or tomorrow at the latest, and you can go do that. So thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful day, and go kill leaky gut.